Yes, we're on question number 26. So let's go ahead and get started. Try to get this done in class. All right. All right. Now it says Janelle has 5 gallons of paint. After painting 800 square feet of walls in her house, she has 3 gallons left. The graph below shows Janelle's situation. All right, so essentially what we're doing is we're trying to find the equation of that line. All right, we're trying to find the equation of that line. Now, look carefully. It says the y-intercept is the easiest thing to find. All right, so the y-intercept is 5. Remember, I think on your paper you should write y equals mx plus b. And then 5 is the y-intercept, so you go ahead and just replace that with plus 5.
So y equals mx.
Now we're looking for the slope. All right, we're trying to find the slope of the line. Now, is the slope positive or negative? Negative. Now, it looks to me like they are all negative, so there's nothing really I can eliminate. It looks like the slope or the y-intercept is all positive. All right. Now, the one thing that is different is if I'm looking at the slope, negative 1 over 400, negative 1 over 40, negative 1 over 800, or negative 1 over 4. All right. So let's see what it says. It says, and again, these are the problems that I think everybody can get right, but most people get wrong. And the reason why I say that is because you have to look at the actual units. All right? So in this case, if you just strictly go down 2 and over 8, it would look like it would be negative 2 over 8. It looks like it would be negative 1/4. However, yes, the key here is you're measuring the x-axis in hundreds. All right? So technically, it should be negative 1 over what? 400. It should be negative 1 over 400. All right? Now, it says, this means that for every gallon of paint used, 400 square feet of area is painted, or does this mean that for every gallon of paint used, 4 square feet are painted? All right? And obviously, because they're measuring in what? Hundreds, the correct answer should be what? The correct answer should be A. All right? And like I said, you just have to be real careful that you didn't accidentally put negative 1/4 down. All right? Now, number 27, which expression is not equivalent to the other expressions? All right? Which I think should be kind of easy because this right here is 4 squared, that's 16, and that's 4 squared. Everybody see that? The only possible answer there is what? B. All right? The only answer is B. All right? 28. All right, now listen. This brings us to a really good, really important review question. All right? Quadratics are all over the test, and you need to be pretty familiar. All right? And really just the basics. All right? So, the height of a ball in feet is modeled by this equation, where x is in time in seconds after the ball is hit. How long is the ball in the air? All right? Who can tell me how far or how long the ball's in the air? What is it?
Like 4.5 seconds.
Exactly, 4.5 seconds. All right? Now, how do we know that? We know that because the y value represents the what? The height. So the ball starts at the ground, it goes up, and it hits the ground. All right? Now, let's review. This right here is called the vertex. and I want to review with you, and I want to make sure you guys remember this. The vertex is found by the equation x equals negative b over 2a. X equals negative b over 2a. Now, if you remember, your quadratic was y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So what is b in this case?
72.
72, right? B is 72. So x, it would be negative 72 over 2 times a, which would be what? Negative 32, thank you. All right? So that would be considered the axis of symmetry. All right? Now, if you recall what the axis of symmetry was, all right, it's the mirror image from the vertex. So that would be the axis of symmetry. All right? Now, the axis of symmetry always contains the vertex. All right? So if the axis of symmetry contains the vertex, how do I figure out what the vertex is? You take this negative 72 over 32, and if we reduce it, all right, what does that reduce down to? 9/4. Is that what that is? All right, I think it's 9/4. I take 9/4 now, and I would plug 9/4 in for x, and that would tell me what? That would tell me the maximum height. All right. Now again, the only reason I'm saying that is because I know that's coming up on your test. All right. So again, I really would like everybody to make a special note there about how to find the vertex, how to find the axis of symmetry. It's very important. Go.
I just don't know why you did like how you got like x equals negative 0 to 2.
Because I know that. That's what I'm saying. That is a formula. You have to know the formula. You can't do that problem.
Oh.
Right, so you have to write down the axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. And they're going to ask you a question about the vertex. And to find the vertex, you have to do the formula, negative b over 2a. That gives you the x coordinate of the vertex.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right? And again, it's something, if you know, it's very easy. If you don't know, it's very hard to find. All right? All right, so let's check out 29 now. All right, again, we did not really do Venn diagrams, and I just feel like you should be able to figure it out. All right, so let's see what it says. The diagram shows a Venn diagram for sets A and B. Now, remember what I tried to tell you yesterday. The intersection, the ones that they have in common. So what numbers do they have in common? 1 and 3. Okay, thank you. All right. If I said the union, you would say 9, 1, 3, 2, 6, 4, and 12. Does everybody see that? Okay. And like I said, if you don't know union, you need to make yourself a little note there. They may ask you about the union. All right. The intersection, if you remember, is this symbol, and the union is this symbol. All right. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. All right, can you factor p squared minus 40? No, because 20 times 20 is not 40. It would be what? It would be 400. All right, so this cannot be factored. If it was p squared minus 400, it would be p plus 20, p minus 20. All right, so again, another really good review. Another really good review for factoring. All right. So p squared minus 400, p plus 20, p minus 20. All right. Now 31. Again. All right. A times a is a squared. Now remember your smiley faces. A positive AB and a negative AB. What do?
Cancel.
They cancel. All right, and then a positive b times a negative b squared. All right, so the correct answer is C. I'm listening.
What did you do with the B times the A?
Okay, so let's look at that. Very, very important. Again, good question. Let's blow it up a little bit. This right here would be AB, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And this right here would be negative AB.
Oh, so they cancel out.
They cancel out.
Okay.
All right? So here we go. Now, when you multiply, what do you do to exponents?
Add.
You add them. All right? And it's very basic. Very basic. All right? Everybody okay with y to the 15? All right? Now, number 33, distributing 7x minus 14 equals 7x plus 14. Is that possible? Is 7x minus 14, is that possible for that to equal 7x plus 14? Not possible. Does everybody agree? So it would be no solution. All right? Just a quick little review. If it was 7x plus 14 equals 7x plus 14, then it would be what? All real numbers. All right? Something else that's a really good review question. Anybody have any questions with that? Everybody good?
So if it was subtraction and subtraction.
Yes, it would be all reals. All right? It's all reals when it's an identity. That's what we used to call it, an identity. All right? A very good, 100% of the time they're going to ask you about the slope. So the slope formula M. Exactly. All right? So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so when we do that, all right, it's going to be 8 plus 1 over negative 2 minus 1. Bless you. 9 over negative 3, so it would be negative 3. Now listen, guys, I am going to kind of flip through your iPads and see what you're doing. All right, and I just want to show you my work compared to your work. I can't have more work than you. All right, bless you. Does everybody see that? All right, I'm making it easy on you, really easy. No pressure whatsoever. Or I'm just asking you to pay attention, write the notes down. You're going to need it. When you write it down, it sticks into your head a little bit. You got a super important exam coming up for everybody. All right? Every little bit that you work on is going to be helpful. All right? If there's something you don't know, make yourself more notes. You want to be able to flip through this thing and find your mistakes so you can study. All right? Easy. Very easy. All right. Now, it says, for f of x equals 24 minus 2x, find f of 2. Well, to find f of 2, what does that mean? Just plug in 2 for x. That's right. So I plug 2 in for x. When I do that, I get f of 2 is equal to 24 minus 4, so that equals what? 20. So the only answer is C. I know, I'm going to show you. All right? So now I'm going to teach you about this because this again is super important. It says f of x equals 10. That's like saying y equals 10. And you're looking for the what this time? The x. So above the f of x, I always try to tell kids, remember, above the f of x, sometimes it's easier just to write y equals 10. So if y equals 10, that means I replace f of x with 10. And so it would be 10 equals 24 minus 2x. And then we solve it. So it would be 2x is equal to 14, so x equals 7.
Oh, never mind.
I know. Think about it. Yes. So then it'd be negative 14 equals negative 2x. Right? Remember what I try to tell kids is move the negative variable.
So
All
they're
right,
positive.
so then it becomes positive. I think that's easier. All right. Now, if you graph y equals x squared minus 6x plus 9, the y-intercept. Now, again, we talked about this yesterday. Somebody tell me how to find the y-intercept. What is always true?
Is it A squared?
No. The y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, always what? No. Now, listen, you're right. Y equals mx plus b. B is the y-intercept. You with me? But in this case, we're talking about a parabola. So go ahead. The y-intercept is always c. So if you remember that, that's good. But I would prefer sometimes you would say the y-intercept is when the x value is 0. Listen to me. The y-intercept is when the x is equal to 0. So all you have to do is plug 0 in for x. And if you plug 0 in for x, she is 100% correct. The y-intercept is always 0, c for a what? For a parabola or for a quadratic. This is a quadratic because it's to the second power. So the y-intercept is 9. All right? But remember, y-intercept, x equals 0. All right? That's true for all graphs. If you want to find the y-intercept, you just plug 0 in for x. Moving on. All right, now again, if I were you when I was doing this problem, you know, I probably wouldn't give you the equations. Everybody see that? But for whatever reason, they decided to write the equation for you. All right? So now we got to figure out which one it is. Now, if you recall, what's important here, guys? Let's look right here. And this is maybe not something, a traditional way of doing it, but this is something that is kind of nice. All right? What we're doing is I'm identifying the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts. All right? I'm identifying the x-intercepts and the y-intercept because I think that's easy. All right? Now, again, if you don't know, we just talked about it. The y-intercept, what's true? The x is 0. All right, so I'm going to plug in 0 for x. If I plug in 0 for x, I get 12y is equal to 900. Everybody agree with that? And so when I take y and say 900 divided by 12, well, 7 times 12 is 84, so it's going to be 7. I think it's 75. All right, but you would have a calculator either way. So the y-intercept has to be what? 75, right? So now it's not B and it's not D. Does everybody see that? All right. So now the x-intercept. If the y-intercept is when the x is 0, the x-intercept is going to be when the y is 0. I think that's the easiest way to do it. So now if I plug 0 in for y, I get 20x is equal to 900. So if I divide 900 by 20, I think I get 45. All right, so my correct answer there would be what? Correct answer would be A. All right, here we go. Okay, remember now, what did I say the domain was? And the range is? Right. So your domain is the x value. So for domain, I always tell kids, look left and right. How far to the left can you go? -3. How far to the right can you go? 2. So the domain is from -3 to 2. So it's not A, could be C, could be D, could be B. Now, the range is up and down. How far down can you go?
-2.
How far up? 4. So your range is from -2 to 4. So it's not C, not D,
It's
B. All right, so if you don't know that, you've got to keep that in mind. A lot of times on the exams, they ask about domain and range. Domain is the X, range is the Y. Domain, you look left and right. Range, you look up and down. All right. Solved by factoring. This is another really good review problem. Two sets of parentheses. All right. X times x is x squared. Now the factors of 8 that make negative 7. What would that be? 8 and 1. Very good. So we're going to do 8 and 1. And now what's true about the 8? Negative and positive. So then you write x minus 8 equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0. So x equals 8 or x equals negative 1. Everybody with me on that? Okay. So 8, negative 1 brings me to what? A. All right. All right. Now on this we can just convert it into y equals mx plus b. So y plus 1 equals 2x minus 2. Subtract 1, y equals 2x minus 3. Does anybody have any questions with that? Do you have any issues?
Well, if you subtracted 1, how come you do it?
You're not subtracting x. You're subtracting.
Right? You're not subtracting x. You're subtracting 1.
Yeah, but
All right, so the y-intercept is what? So it's not A, it's not B, negative 3, negative 3. Now I have to go up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. So the correct answer is what? C. All right? Very, very good review problem. Good for you. No, it's because here. You see how the y-intercept is negative 3? Yes or no? So now we use the slope, right? Which is up 2 and over 1. Do you agree with that? Because this slope right here is 2 over 1. Does that make sense now, right? You good? All right, here we go. Moving on. 41. The scatter plot shows a relationship between the weekly total sales and the number of different rug designs. Based on the relationship, use the line of best fit to predict what the total sales will be when the store has 110 different rugs. So I just have to go to where 110 is, and I'm following it up. It'll be somewhere around there. So I'm going to follow it over. So is it more than 35,000 or less? Right? Isn't that right? This right here is 30,000. So this line right here would be 35,000, right? So to me it would be a little less than 35,000. Well, but 31,000 seems a little low.
Wait, how do you put that line there?
yeah, wouldn't it be?
Hold on, let me
There's
make
so many different dots.
110 different rugs, right?
Oh,
So I went to 110, and I went up. So to me, it's definitely closer to 35,000. Does everybody agree?
why do you know when to put the?
Shh.
How do you know when to go left?
Why is it your horizontal line like actually on the line?
Say it again.
Why is it your horizontal line like actually on the line? Because that's horizontal, exactly. Look at the line.
Yeah. So when I came up here, it stopped.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I'd say it's about 35,000. All right. It's an estimate anyway. So x squared minus 16, we all should be pretty comfortable with that. Should not be a big deal. But again, remember, guys, lots of factoring on the test usually. All right, these are just the basic ones. All right. Now here, two sets of parentheses, right? The only way to make x squared is And with 16, I need negative 6, right? So we're going to do a negative 8 and a positive 2. All right? So it looks like what? A. Is that good with that? All right, now 44, for some reason these are hard for kids, so let's go ahead and say A equals 1/2 B plus C times H. I'm trying to get to C, right? So because I'm trying to get to C, I got to get rid of everything else. The easiest thing to get rid of is, first, is the 1/2. How do I get rid of the 1/2? Multiply by 2, all right, or multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to put a 2A over here, and then I get rid of the 1/2. Then I have times H, right? So to get rid of the time H, divide by H. And now this is gone. Right, now we have 2A over H equals B plus C. So now I just subtract B, right? So we have 2A over H minus B equals C.
So it's C.
All right, they always put those up.
Why do you multiply by 2 to get rid of the 1/2 and not divide by?
Dividing by 1/2,
Yeah.
right, is the same. All right. All right, here we go. So here it says the ratio of boys to girls is 2 to 3. That means for every 2 boys, there are 3 girls. And they say you have 18 girls. So that would give you what?
12 boys.
12 boys. All right. Now always go back and read the question. It could say how many kids are there. Lots of different ways to try to throw you off. All right. All right. Now, solving this system of equation. Easiest thing to do is just add them together, right? And the reason why it's easy is because why? The plus and the minus do what? Cancel out. So we have 5x equals negative 5. So then I always encourage kids to look to see if I have to figure out what y is. Do I have to figure out what y is?
No.
But because negative 1 is the only answer for x, right? Now if I had to figure out what y is, I would plug negative 1 in for x and then solve that for y, if you remember. Again, this is one of the most common topics, all right? Besides graphing, is solving systems of equations. All right, does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Wait, so how would you like know that it would that y is 2 without like doing that?
Well, because what I would do is I'd plug negative 1 in for x. So 2 times negative 1 plus 3y equals 4. You see that?
Yeah, but like, didn't you say you could tell that it was 2 without even doing that?
Yeah, because the only possible answer for x equals negative 1. That's not negative 1. That's not negative 1. That's,
Oh.
yeah. All right. So 3y equals 6. So we knew y was 2. All right. Bless you. All right. Now look here, guys, because to me, there's a lot of algebra involved here. I wouldn't do it. I would just plug in the answers. Listen to me. On standardized tests, a good strategy is to plug in answers. All right? So if I plug 5 in, if I plug 5 in for x, what's 5 plus 3? 8. 5 minus 3, or 5 minus 2 is 8 times 3, 14. So that's not the answer. So now if I plug in negative 3, what's negative 3 plus 3? 0 times anything. So it's not B. Plug in negative 5. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Negative 5 minus 2 is, so does that work? Yes. Now do I have to try D? No, because I know negative 5 is an answer. Does D have negative 5? So then that can't be the answer.
So what happens to the 4?
Yeah, if we plug 4 in, look what happens. 4 plus 3 is 7. 4 minus 2 is 2. So that works also. You see what I'm showing you, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to understand. I would rather just plug numbers in. All right. Now 48 was like the very beginning. All right. And what I always try to remember to tell kids is that you're dividing everything by 3x. So that's how you should be thinking of it. So 18 divided by 3 is 6, and x cubed divided by x is x squared. So I can cross out C and D. And then 9 divided by 3 is 3. X squared divided by x is x. So correct answer, B. Everybody good with that? All right. Now let's solve the inequality. Distribute 15 plus 6n greater than or equal to 7 plus 10n. Again, I try to keep the variables positive. So I would say 8 is greater than or equal to 4n. Dividing by 4 gives me 2. Now you got to be real careful if you write it like that, because now you got to switch it around. When you switch it around, you would say n is less than or equal to 2. Please look over 49. Remember the rule, if you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to change the signs. When you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to change the signs. There isn't. I'm just saying. Okay, so let's read this. If I said 2 is greater than 1, but then I want to compare 1 to 2. 1 is what compared to 2? Right. So if you just switch the order, you have to switch the inequality as well. Now again, I always tell kids that I'm not expecting you to memorize that, right? I'm expecting you when you get to this step right here, you go, wow, that's a little bit tricky, so let me make sure I get the right answer. And just make yourself up a little situation where you have to just rearrange it. When you rearrange it, do you switch the x, or do you switch the inequality? Yes, you do. All right? So U is the set of natural numbers less than 8. So natural numbers less than 8 are what? Yes, they less than 8 would be 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0 is not a natural number. 0 is a whole number. Remember this, please. Integers are positives and negative, but only counting numbers. All right? And then there's rationals, which are the fractions, and the decimals. All right? So keep that in mind. So the universal set is everything less than 8. G is the set of even numbers less than 10. All right? Now, I definitely wouldn't expect you to know this. What is the complement of set G? So the complement is just everything that's not in G. All right, so put that down. The complement is everything not in that set. All right, so what does that mean? So I'm going to show you. The universal set contains the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the only thing you can have is your answers are 1 through 7. That's what it's telling you. G contains the even integers less than 10. The even integers less than 10. 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. Which is the complement? So what are the numbers that are not in G?
1, 3, 5, 7.
1, 3, 5, and 7. All right? So the complement is what's not. All right? What's not. And again, that's something I would write down, and as you're flipping through, getting ready to take your test, you would look up that word. I'm not expecting you to know that. All right? Yes, ma'am.
How did you get G as 1?
Where did I get 1, 3, 5, 7?
No, No, 0, 2, 6.
Because they're even numbers less than 10.
Oh. But,
It says here, G is even numbers less than 10. Right? So the numbers that are not in G are 1, 3, 5, and 7. All right, simplifying this expression, remember it's called rationalizing the denominator. So we'd multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 2. So we end up with the square root of 30 over 2. Now, you cannot divide 30 by 2 because one's irrational and one is rational. The square root of 30 is considered to be irrational, and the square root, or the 2 is considered to be rational. So the answer is B.
why did you multiply it by square root of 2 over the square root
Remember,
of 2?
the rule was the math teachers got together and said no radicals in the denominator. All right?
Wait, what? I'm confused.
I'm just saying you're not allowed to have irrational numbers in the denominator. So in order to get rid of the radical, you have to multiply the top and bottom by whatever's in the denominator. Because what is the square root of 2 times the square root of 2?
2.
Therefore, there's no radical now in the denominator.
Oh.
There's no radical in the denominator. All right. Now, right off the bat, I want everybody to say it's not A. Because the domain is giving you the only x values you're allowed to use. Those are the only x values you're allowed to use. Is everybody with me on that? All right? So you have to figure out what happens if I plug in negative 8. So again, negative 2 times negative 8 plus 4y equals 4. 16 plus 4y equals 4. 4y equals negative 12. So y equals what? Negative 3. So if I plug in negative 8, I should get what? Negative 3. So is it B? If I plug in negative 8, is that point negative 3? No. Look at C. Negative 8, negative 3. Is that good? Yes. Is negative 8, negative 3 over here? No. So the only possible answer was what? C. Everybody good? All right. Let's take a look at 54. Determine whether the pairing is a function. All we have to do is look at what? The x values. Are the x values different? It looks like they're all different, right? So it is a function, right? The pairing is a function, all right? So, yes, A is not the answer. Now it says the rule is take the input and multiply it by 3. Is that true? No, so it's not C. The rule is input value multiplied by 2, then add 3. Is that right? No. You're just what? Adding 3, right? If you do plus 3, you get 0. If you do plus 3, you get 2. That wasn't that bad.
Wait, what's a function again?
A function, remember, is a relation. All right, a relation is just a set of ordered pairs. All right, so it's ordered pairs in which the x value does not repeat. All right, in which the x value does not repeat. All right, so let's look at 55. All right, the value in the table shows a linear relationship. Find the slope. So here, again, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, so you can take any two x's and any two y's. Now I'm trying to find something that doesn't have negatives in it, so maybe I'm going to look at these 2 points right here. All right, so we can say 4 minus 7 over 8 minus 2. 4 minus 7 is negative 3 over 6, negative 1/2. All right, the end.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I think tomorrow I assigned set test 2. Will you go look in the Google Classroom right now and see if I put 2 up? Yeah. See if I put 2 in. I have not. All right. So